Welcome to India HR Dialogues, the Executive Read, where we take these deep dives into some really fascinating books.
Yeah,
Extracting those nuggets of wisdom that you can apply to your career journey.
absolutely.
And hey, if you're digging these deep dives, don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes.
Please do.
Today, we are going to be cracking open Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money.
Oh, a good one.
Now, you might be thinking, oh no, not another finance book.
Right.
But trust me on this one, this is different. It's less about, crunching numbers and spreadsheets.
Oh, yeah.
It's more about understanding the psychology, the forces behind our financial choices.
Yeah, those often invisible forces that sometimes we're not even aware of that drive our decisions.
Exactly, like our emotions, our personal histories, and, all those biases that we carry around.
It's about recognizing that money isn't just about numbers, it's deeply human.
Yeah.
And there's a psychology that often dictates our decisions more than logic.
And that's what makes this deep dive so powerful.
Uh-huh.
It gives you like a whole new lens to look at financial success and, maybe even challenge some assumptions along the way.
Absolutely. And one of the most striking things in the book is the idea that money is more about psychology than it is about physics.
So it's not just about knowing the formulas
Right.
or like the strategies.
Uh-huh.
It's understanding your own mind and your own relationship with money.
Like, how does your mind work when it comes to money?
Yeah.
And the book has this great story of Ronald Reed,
Oh, yeah.
who was a janitor and gas station attendant, but quietly amassed an $8 million fortune.
See, now you'd think he had some secret Wall Street strategy or something.
Right, you'd think so, right?
But no.
But no.
His success was all about patience and consistency.
Absolutely.
He just steadily invested over decades, letting the magic of compounding do its thing, which is such a powerful reminder that you don't need to be a financial whiz to build wealth.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's the simplest approach.
the simplest approach is the best.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, the importance of time, right? Like consistent long-term investing, even with small amounts, can yield incredible results over time.
So true.
Just plant that seed and nurture it patiently, and it'll grow into a mighty oak.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
The book also digs into this whole idea that we all have a money narrative,
We do.
but like a unique perspective on money that's been shaped by our experiences.
Yeah. And those experiences are just a tiny snapshot of all the financial possibilities out there.
It's like looking at the world through a keyhole,
Exactly.
right? And that explains why people can be equally smart, equally informed, but have wildly different views on risk investing, what it means to be successful.
Because we all have those past experiences, our upbringing, the stories we've heard about money, all contribute to our narratives.
Yeah.
And those narratives are powerful. I mean, they can drive our financial decisions without us even realizing it.
It's true. And then the book dives into this fascinating concept of enough, highlighting how the relentless pursuit of more can sometimes lead to regret and emptiness.
And the book contrasts the stories of Rajat Gupta and John Bogle.
Oh, yeah.
Gupta, driven by ambition, always wanting more, ultimately faced downfall.
Right.
Bogle, on the other hand, found contentment and fulfillment in building a company that genuinely served others.
I mean, it really makes you think.
It does.
Like, what does enough look like for you?
Yeah,
At what point does the pursuit of wealth stop adding to your life and start taking away from it?
that's a really good question.
Right.
And it's not about, Housel giving you the answer. It's about figuring out what that means for you.
Yeah, defining it for yourself, which is a powerful exercise in itself.
It is a powerful exercise.
Speaking of powerful exercises, the book delves into the magic of compounding.
Ah, yes, the magic of compound.
And it really is magical.
It is.
It shows how small, consistent contributions over time can snowball into significant wealth.
Like a snowball rolling downhill, just gathering more snow as it goes.
That's a great visual.
That's compounding in action.
Yeah, and Housel uses Warren Buffett as a perfect example.
Oh, yeah.
His incredible fortune was built primarily through decades of patient compounding. It just proves that time is arguably the most potent force in investing.
It is, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay?
This is also where a lot of people stumble. They get impatient, they chase those quick returns,
Right.
they miss out on that slow and steady growth.
They want to get rich quick.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's not just about being patient with your investments, it's about being patient with yourself.
Yeah.
Understanding that building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint.
And speaking of marathons,
Okay.
you need the right gear to finish the race.
You do.
This leads us to the concept of margin of safety,
Yeah.
which is essentially like a financial buffer zone,
A cushion.
a cushion to help you weather those inevitable ups and downs.
Right. Life throws you curveballs.
It does.
And so does investing.
And if you're finding these insights helpful, why not dive deeper?
Yeah.
Grab your own copy of The Psychology of Money through the link in the description. You won't regret it.
It's a good read.
It really is.
Like having that emergency fund, gives you that peace of mind that you can handle like unexpected expenses, or if the market, takes a dip.
Exactly. Gives you that breathing room, that flexibility.
Yeah.
Now, you might think that being like super rational with your money is always the best approach, but Housel throws a bit of a curveball
He does.
with this idea of being reasonable over rational.
Yeah, it's about understanding that sometimes purely rational decisions might not align with your values or your well-being.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's okay to prioritize peace of mind
Right.
over like squeezing every penny.
Like, for example, maybe it makes financial sense to rent a smaller apartment,
Right.
but living in a slightly larger space brings you more joy, reduces your stress.
Yeah.
Those are factors that a spreadsheet can't always capture.
Exactly. It's understanding that we're not robots.
Right.
Sometimes, making a reasonable decision that aligns with your values can actually lead to greater happiness and fulfillment.
And speaking of long-term thinking,
Yes.
Housel introduces this concept called the end of history illusion.
Oh, interesting.
Have you ever fallen into that trap of thinking that who you are today is who you'll always be?
I think we all do
Right.
at some point.
That your goals, your values, your desires won't change.
It's easy to get stuck in that mindset.
Right. It's like trying to fit your future self into clothes you've outgrown.
You've outgrown them.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah, and it can lead to some pretty inflexible financial plans,
Yeah.
Imagine planning your retirement based on your current lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But what if your priorities change?
Right. What if new passions emerge?
What if you have some health challenges?
Things happen.
Things happen, exactly.
So Housel encourages us to be more adaptable.
Yeah,
Acknowledge that our future selves might have different needs and desires.
you got to build in that flexibility. Be
Right.
open to change.
Now, let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about something that might seem counterintuitive.
Right.
The allure of pessimism.
Pessimism.
We tend to think of optimism as the more positive mindset,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to our finances.
For sure.
But Housel points out that pessimism, while often gloomy, has a certain appeal.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Often sounds smarter, more intellectual,
Yeah, that sounds more serious.
and it tends to capture our attention more readily.
Absolutely bad news always travels faster than good news.
It's like we're drawn to those cautionary tales, those warnings of potential doom and gloom.
Right, we're wired for that negativity bias.
And while it's important to be aware of risks,
Mm-hmm.
we shouldn't let pessimism paralyze us
Right.
or prevent us from taking calculated risks.
It's about finding that balance
Okay.
between, skepticism and optimism. Not being naive, but also not being afraid to take a chance.
And finally, we can't talk about the psychology of money without addressing the power of narratives.
The stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah, the stories we hear about the economy, the markets, the future.
Those stories have a profound impact on our behavior. They shape our expectations, our fears, and ultimately our decisions.
It's like we're all living in a collective story.
Yeah.
And the narrative we choose to believe in shapes our financial reality.
So it's really important to be aware of the narratives that are influencing us. Are they based on facts or driven by fear, greed, speculation?
Yeah, by understanding how narratives work, we can make choices that are grounded in reality rather than being swayed by the latest hype or panic.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the psychology of money,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways that our listeners can apply to their own lives?
Well, first, I think it's important to take some time to reflect on your own money narrative. What experiences, beliefs, values have shaped your relationship with money?
Are those serving you well or are they holding you back?
Exactly.
And second, define your personal enough. What does a fulfilling and meaningful life look like for you? How much is truly enough to achieve that vision?
Because contentment isn't about having the most, it's about having enough
So true.
to live a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
And third,
Yes.
embrace the long game.
Remember Ronald Reed, the janitor who built that $8 million fortune?
Through patience and consistency.
Patience and consistency, exactly.
Building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient. Be disciplined.
Give your investments the time they need to grow.
And as a reminder,
Yes.
if you want to explore these ideas further,
Mm-hmm.
grab a copy of The Psychology of Money
It's a good one.
through the link in the description.
It can really change the way you think about money.
Mm-hmm.
Make you a wiser, more empowered decision maker.
Thanks for joining us on the Executive Read.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll catch you in the next deep dive.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day,
Mm-hmm.
managing your finances, that you forget to step back and
Yeah.
really ask yourself those bigger questions.
We get lost in the weeds,
We do.
right? And that's what makes The Psychology of Money so valuable.
Yeah.
It's not just about, the how-to. It's about understanding yourself.
Mm-hmm. Self-awareness is key.
Right.
Recognizing those beliefs, those biases, and then, what do you do with them?
Are they helping or hurting?
Exactly.
Yeah, and understanding the psychology of money isn't just about building wealth.
Yeah.
It's about making choices that align with your values,
Your goals.
your vision.
Yeah, what you truly want out of life.
It's about finding that sweet spot,
Yeah,
where financial security and happiness meet.
exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
let's leave our listeners with some actionable steps they can take today.
All right, so first, jot down your personal money narrative.
What are those key experiences and beliefs that have shaped how you view money?
Mm-hmm.
And once you've got those down, ask yourself, are these beliefs still serving me well, or are they holding me back?
Love it. Second.
Second, define your personal enough. What does a life of true contentment look like to you?
Right. How much is actually enough to achieve that vision?
Remember, contentment isn't about having the most. It's about having enough to live a life that's truly meaningful and fulfilling.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And finally,
Embrace the long game.
remember Ronald Reed, the janitor,
The janitor.
who built that $8 million fortune through patience and consistency?
Patience and consistency.
Building wealth, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely.
Be patient, be disciplined, and give your investments that time to grow.
Time is your friend.
It really is. And as a reminder, if you want to explore these ideas further, grab a copy of The Psychology of Money
It's a good one.
through the link in the description.
Highly recommend it.
It's a book that can really change the way you think about money, make you a wiser, more empowered decision maker.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on the Executive Read.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you in the next deep dive.